everyone.
Hey everybody.
Welcome to Mommy Issues. And you are stepping into our living room to join us for a series of conversations about how do we as mothers and daughters start to have more raw, authentic conversations with each other. And really we're in the space of having an unscripted conversation because we want this to be, I guess, a further demonstration of what the healing process when after we go through traumatic things such as like divorce or loss or any kind of pain. And so me and my mom wanted to sit down and let you in on a conversation that we've never really had before, and hopefully open some things up that furthers our healing journey together. So I guess we should introduce ourselves.
Okay. All right.
Why don't you start?
All right. Well, I'm Tracy Hester Glass, and I'm her mother.
That's my mom. She looks so good. I'm Courtney Miller. Former last name was Hester, so that is my mother. And I'm just so excited to be able to sit with her. And we've been in such crazy places in our life, and to be able to have a day of not being with my 18-month-old little Quincy, and to be able to spend time with my mom and talk is really special to me. And so I think we should share a little bit about who we are, why we're doing this. And
all right.
So you want to share a fun fact or something, I don't know, something about our relationship or dynamic people don't know?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I don't know who really the mother is. Sometimes I feel like I'm the daughter.
I'm the mother.
And she's the mother. And that's an interesting dynamic.
That happens in all the women in our family, though.
Okay.
The role switches.
Right. It's a role reversal thing. But I'll say that I've learned a lot from you.
Like,
as you being my mama, daughter, mama,
mama, daughter.
I have learned how to be more authentic by watching your life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think in my generation, it was, I think, kind of fake it before, so you can make it kind of attitude where we hid a lot. And I feel like with you watching your life and how you show up, it has taught me to be more authentic and not hide my emotions in any way. So I've learned that from you.
Thank you. I didn't know that. I appreciate that. I think something I've learned from you is the ability to really like be a cheerleader for someone. I think that growing up, I remember you would always like have these huge celebrations for us and like do all these things to make us feel special. And you just grow up and you think that's how everyone's mom is, and it's not. And so I've learned what it looks like to really champion people and celebrate people and appreciate people, and to see value in people from you. And I think that like it's consistent in every area of your life. Like it's not just with me and CJ, my brother. It's like people in your church community, your sisterhood community. Like I think that's what people know you to be. So you used to be a cheerleader back in the day, and you had all your trophies and such, and then I became a cheerleader. But I think the essence of a cheerleader isn't the pom-poms and the uniform and like rah-rah. It's like having a belief and value in somebody. So I learned that from you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. But enough of the mushy-gushy
right.
stuff.
Well, I'll say this. I think that people that know us from the outside, it might look like, oh, Courtney and Tracy have had a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
And that has not been the truth. We've had to work through a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think that what I've learned from us working through, it just really starts with vulnerability, being open, and having the courage to say hard things.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes it's hard to say hard things to your mother.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't disrespect your mom. And I think saying anything that feels on the edge of dishonoring or disrespect or something you don't like about your mom, it's like how dare you? Like, I carried you for 9 months. Right. Do you know how long my labor was? Like, I went through so much for you. And so to have any kind of like, I don't like this about my mom. Like, you can say that about your dad. Like, people talk all day. They got daddy issues. They've been abandoned by their dad. Their dad was there, wasn't there, whatever. But you don't often get to talk about mommy issues. And I think that's what brought up this topic of, I think for me, like, this idea of mommy issues came up because I had the opportunity of living with you last year.
Right.
And that brought up a lot of issues that I had with you that I didn't know were even there. And so I think being in proximity with people, but especially like your mom in such a close way, I think it brings up a lot of matters of the heart that may go unnoticed or not explored. And so we wanted to bring in this idea of mommy issues because, one, it's not talked about. Like, people can talk all day about the daddy issues, but like the matters of the issues we have with our mother often feels very taboo. And there's this other element of like, I don't even know how to articulate the things that are sometimes in my heart toward my mom because I have to love my mom. And so it's a complicated relationship of like, how can I air out some things that have been painful and to feel like my mom will hear me and won't shut it down. And I think there's the perspective from the mother-daughter perspective too.
Yeah, I think that daughters and even sons oftentimes see their parent as not human. And because as mothers, we have to be in a certain role, the caretaker, the loving, since, you know, our kids are born, it is like we have to put on these superhuman women capes and go through life and not let our kids see us sweat or see that we have issues.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times why our children don't see us as human is because we don't show our issues.
Yeah.
As moms. We kind of hide them. And they come out in different ways, which could be dysfunctional, right, later in life. Or it could be a place where a daughter could feel like, I just don't understand my mom.
Yeah. And you don't want anything to do with it, or you don't want to be like her. You're just like, she was great, she was loving, but I don't want to be like my mom.
Right.
And
but not see that a mom is like she is because maybe she hasn't dealt with the issues of her heart. Yeah. Moms have issues too. And so that's why we're kind of having this conversation because it is a couple perspectives. Moms have issues. Daughters may not see that their moms have issues. And how do we kind of deal with that? And your mom.
So it's generational. It's not just between me and you. I think it's multi-generational. It's between you and grandma. Me and you, me and Quincy. And then we can go far up. Like, we have all learned ways of relating with our mothers that is based on how our mother related with their mother. And their mother, it keeps going. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to open up, where the issues began, at least where we saw the crumbling begin. And, as you guys saw in the promo, that the main thing we're going to be unpacking is how a lot of our issues came after divorce, the divorce of my parents. And this has been a journey, and we haven't even really talked about it in the sense of how all of this came up for each one of us. And maybe I saw you process it one way and you might have saw me process it, but we've never had a conversation about how I saw you in the midst of it and how you saw me and how we dealt with that trauma. So maybe we can start off with giving some context. My parents were married for 24 years and, we grew up in a lovely home. We lived very comfortable. comfortably. We were Christian in church. My parents were leaders. I felt like my parents were like the people you go to for Bible study and prayer, and like people were at our house, and like our house always, I feel like, had people, and it felt like, I don't know, people saw my parents as help, guidance, examples, models of some sorts. At least that's how I perceived it. And so there was one dynamic that I saw happening between like what people saw my parents as, and then as a kid I saw another dynamic of like, you know, a lot of the conflict that would happen behind closed doors, and like my parents really trying to figure things out. And for me as a kid, like witnessing the different iterations of like the challenges you guys went through, it was scary at times, because as a kid you can't process what arguments mean. You can't process like, what does it mean that these two people aren't getting along? It just feels like chaos and terror. And so in my mind I was like, okay, well, they're always gonna come back together. Like even if they get in a fight, they're gonna work it out, because that's what you guys did for 24 years. At least I wasn't there all 24 years. I was there 21 years. But I think that I could never imagine that what I saw in, you know, the unity that my parents had would lead to a divorce. And so, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's before you brought up about generational. So I saw my parents have conflict, but I always saw them come back together. So growing up as a teenager, you know, elementary school, I saw conflict as normal. I saw it as a normal way to communicate. Now, maybe they did it wrong or whatever, but still, it was this always coming back together and talking. And I think that my parents really modeled for us the scripture that talks about don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Because I would, you know, they may have had an argument, but by that evening there was some type of reconciliation. So I think that that was a generational pattern I saw. And I think that so much of how we as moms behave in a relationship is based upon what we see, right, in life. And you know, I don't think that, I think it's more common now and popular now where people are definitely more aware of their emotions.
Yes.
It is an awareness like never before, which is so good that people are mindful. You know, there's just more of an emotional intelligence, right? Well, I was married at 27 years old. Back then, it was that was not a buzzword. That was not a concept that you should be aware of yourself emotionally.